my YouTube stuff started back in 2007, I believe it was, and I'd done a lot of voice video stuff. And one of them was just me and the car, or no, it was me in my booth just doing my favorite different movie trailer guys, because there's quite a few. There's about a dozen or so, and I did like my top five favorites that I do really well, and made up this fake movie trailer. And each part of the trailer had a different genre of voice, because there's more than one genre of movie trailer voices, and I happen to do quite a few. So that video, it didn't necessarily go viral, but it got enough views that it made it to pretty high up on the search engines, especially after Don LaFontaine passed away. And my first manager happened to find that, and he ran a trailer company out here in LA, and he'd hired a few different voice actors. Some of them you probably know their voices very well, because they were famous movie trailer guys, including Don himself. He'd worked with him before. And he said, I think you got a lot of potential, a lot of talent. And he started working with me, and I started booking with him right away. And he's like, I think I'd like to be your manager. And he's like, I don't manage talent. I have my own trailer company, but I think that you have a lot of potential that I'd like to work with. So I started working with his producers, trying to find my own, not just doing impressions of movie trailer guys, but my own unique epic voice. And so,
well, that's the thing, man. When I first heard, everybody knows I'm a big Don fan. I got a Don tattoo, and Don helped me a lot in the beginning. But I had heard your stuff, and this was, a long time ago, before I knew you or Repture or any of that stuff. And I was like, is this like a parody, or what's the deal? But it seems like it started actually kind of as a parody or an homage, and then morphed into like a real thing.
Well, my brother had first kind of brought it to my attention. I mean, I'd heard the movie trailer voice my whole life, but it never was in, the foreground of mind, like, oh, that's a cool voice. But my brother brought this Paulo Francisco stand-up routine to my attention. He was like, you should hear this guy who talks about movie trailer voices. It's a really funny thing. And he does that thing that goes down at the end. He was doing a weird combination of Hal Douglas and Don LaFontaine. And my brother was like, I think you can do that better than he can. And so my brain kind of, I reverse engineer voices and kind of pick them apart and realize what's what. And then I realized that he'd taken Hal Douglas and Don LaFontaine and merged them together into this, whatever that weird voice was. And it wasn't exactly Don or Hal, it was just whatever his version was. And then I found out who Don LaFontaine was because of that. And it was the Geico commercial that first really made me notice his voice. And I just started doing an impression of that. And then after I'd booked quite a few trailers, a couple of hundred within the first couple of years being with him. But most of it was, not big theatrical, there's not a lot of voiceover in the big theatrical movies. Usually it's a TV campaign that you hear the most voice work on. But most of it was for like direct to DVD movies, or movies that went straight to digital. They weren't huge blockbusters. There's a few. But I'd had a few.
And are these directors are telling you do the Don, or?
They were hiring me for my own movie trailer voice, and it depended on what it was. I did a few horror things. I did, Carrie, the remake of Carrie, things, the new RoboCop, a few things people would actually know, Two Guns, Denzel Washington, Mark Wahlberg. And so some of them were actually
Hold on, I got a clip.
Every genre of movie, from comedy.
Get ready and fun for the party of the year.
To action.
They call him Machete.
Drama.
The Blacklist Season 2 Red Edition.
Horror.
They pushed her too far.
And the Emmy-nominated YouTube series Honest Trailers.
Oh, they're gonna just rehash everything from Star Wars, aren't they?
So I stole that. How is that all edited up for us and everything?
See
nice.
The difference between because I try to get a lot of different genres in that clip, but you can see the difference between the serious stuff that I'd done, and then when the Honest Trailers guys came along, they were like, "Hey, we saw your website from that same video my manager had seen of me doing these different movie genres in one video, but they clicked on my website and so like, dude, you have like 200 trailers, like you do this for real?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, have you seen our stuff? And I'm like, "No, can you give me a link?" And I checked it out, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is pretty cool." And
so you're pretty famous for the Honest Trailers thing.
Yeah.
But it was actual trailers that came first, and that's how they found you. They said, this is a real trailer guy.
Right.
Because that's how I was introduced to you, to that voice. And I thought I was like, is that comedian guy? No, that sounds different. But again, that's why maybe I thought, is this kind of a parody thing, or what's, because it was a comedy thing and they were,
I knew it was
bringing it
supposed
up.
to be funny. I just didn't know if it was a parody or not. And it didn't really dawn on me until after we got feedback in the comments from the very first one that I worked on. And they said the majority of the comments were not, obviously people were upset because they'd changed voices, but the main comment was that it sounds too good. It sounds too much like a real movie trailer, which is all I had done before that time. And then I was like, oh, I'm parodying myself. I'm basically making fun of my normal job. And then it became like this whole character. It's not even a voice anymore. He's his own, like, you hear him talk about his wife and his kids, and, like, he breaks character a lot. So he's become his own entity now.
Well,
He's not
this
just
thing, it's
standard
gotten
trailer
huge.
voice.
For those who don't
Yeah,
know,
it's
hold
big
on, I got
now.
a clip.
Before you catch Men in Black International in 6 months on cable or on an airplane or something, check out the film that started it all and the other two that just kept doing it. The Men in Blacks. Suit up for 3 sci-fi comedies set in an alternate reality where the United States accepts refugees and join.
Okay, so for those who don't know, because this is huge, this started online, and then I think it was broadcast at some point, or still is. I don't know. But what's the premise here?
The premise was just to point out all of the inconsistencies or the flaws, or just kind of point out all the things that didn't work in real life, like things that Luke and Leia's relationship, or the way people say Han and Han. They would point those things out, and they would actually sit down and watch through the movies over and over and over again, and they would keep writing in notes about this part doesn't make sense with that part if they just done this. And we're not they weren't the only channel that did it how it should have ended had done it, and the other one, CinemaSins, had been doing this, but they all been doing it their own unique way. And their concept was, well, let's do it movie trailer style, where we have the actual, like, it's a movie trailer, but it's a trailer that's actually being truthful about what happens in the film, because most trailers show you what they want you to see because they want you to watch the movie, where we did the exact opposite of that, and we're showing the people everything about the movie, the stuff that they may not want you to see, because like, maybe this movie's not as great as you think it is based on the real trailer. So it was kind of that, that concept.
It's interesting because people don't know. It's freaking huge, man, right? I mean, this started, where did it
I
start?
honestly
They
don't
weren't their
remember.
own YouTube station, right? I mean, they weren't their
I
own
don't-
channel.
I
It was
don't
part of
remember
something.
where-
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when it started. I think it'd been on for at least a couple of years, if not more, when I came on. And it's gone through a lot of creative changes and a lot of writing changes and a lot of, different stuff. So the concept has always basically been the same, but the frequency and the voices, there's been a lot of little small changes here and there until get where we are now. But yeah, now it's been over, I think it's been over 7 years or so. So it's gone on way longer than any of us thought it would. And to the point of breaking through to the mainstream where it's accepted in pop culture. And, Ryan Reynolds himself wanted to be part of, the Deadpool on his trailer. So you can kind of see once it really reaches celebrity status that it's like, oh, this is a freaking huge thing now.